Hello, I am recording this video on Friday, June 6th, about 24 hours after the rules change for Urza Saga and Blood Moon has gone live on Magic Online, and we already have a Painter 5.0 featuring the new rules interaction. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today an anonymous donor gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list, and I'm going to use this to keep doing some testing on Urza Saga and Blood Moon. Today I'm going to be featuring the 5.0 Painter deck list from Light Walker, and most of this probably just looks like the Painter deck that you are used to seeing about to say pre-ban out of force of habit, pre-rules change. But it's more common to see these in the sideboard than the main deck, and it's also more common to see Magus of the Moon over Blood Moon. Well, why do we want Blood Moon over Magus if we're often traditionally playing Magus? Magus has a 2/2 body, Magus can attack, but Blood Moon is stickier. So if our goal is to keep Urza's Saga on 2 around forever, the stickier Blood Moon is preferable to the Magus of the Moon that can just eat a Swords to Plowshares. This was something we saw in my Moonstompy video from yesterday, where we did the thing and created an Urza Saga on 2, and then our opponent just removed our Magus of the Moon or Blood Moon, and then I lost my Urza Saga that I had worked so hard to get. So Blood Moon is preferable in that regard. It is harder to remove. Not impossible by current Legacy standards, but tougher. One of the things that might feel new, though, is Simian Spirit Guide. It's not like the deck hasn't played Simian Spirit Guide and Lotus Petal effects in the past, and sometimes you might even see a Spicy Mox Opal in a deck that looks like this one. But if we specifically want to be able to play the Blood Moon on turn 2, after playing Urza's Saga, we are going to be much more successful to do that if we have a little bit more fast mana than normal. We are very early into testing rules changes here, so I do not expect that this exactly is going to be the face of Painter moving forward. There are some questions about Painter. For example, should you be playing the One Ring in your deck? Because A, it's objectively a powerful card, and B, with Goblin Welder making it so you're not going to accumulate too many counters and kill yourself, it can get pretty absurd. There are going to be some downsides to playing things like the One Ring, as your own ensnaring bridges might become more awkward. And on that note, if we are looking to accumulate a whole bunch of Urza Saga Construct tokens, Ensnaring Bridge does stop those from attacking, but again, we have plenty of ways to get our own stuff out of the way here. I do have some questions about deck construction in the post-rules change world. Like, how many grindstones do you need if Urza Saga is sometimes going to be a mountain rather than a guaranteed tutor for grindstone? Like, do you need to play a third? Is a third that you tutor for off of 2 Karns going to be enough? I don't have answers to those questions without playing a whole bunch of games, and I don't tend to play a whole bunch of games with the same deck on this channel. The people like variety. That much has been made clear to me based on my analytics in the past. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into some matches here. Folks, if you need some cards, please check out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're awesome. Promo code ThrabenU saves you 5% on your order. You always get free shipping. You can expedite those shippings, because you're ordering more than once because they're so awesome. If you need your cards super fast for a tournament or something like that. And remember, if you are going to a place like MagicCon Atlanta or MagicCon Vegas, you can order your cards in advance, pick them up on site, and they even have options where if you want to get in and out of a line quickly selling them cards, you can compile your list in advance and give them to them. So with that being said, let's battle. So I have a pretty mediocre hand here. Like, this is fine if I am playing against a blue deck, but this is glacially slow in terms of actually casting my spells, and I don't have a great game plan. Whereas this has a real game plan. I am fine with keeping this one, and I will just get rid of one of the blast effects. I believe it is correct to play Ancient Tomb on one. I have a single red source, but I have 2 soul lands. This means that I don't have Pyroblast available for the first turn, which is awkward. But if I get Wastelanded, I look like a genius. So, video's a success already. Cool. Now I can play Fable next turn using City of Traders. Scrubland. Did you forget your Yorion? I am going to go ahead and do this. My hand's not great versus some D&T style deck. I'd like to loot through this Pyroblast at a minimum. Bowmasters could make that awkward. Marsh Flats. Trigger? Yes, I am always getting rid of this. With Vile here and 1 basic land queued up, I don't think this Blood Moon is good. And I draw absolute junk. We're gonna send in. Good trade with Aphelia here. No. 17. I'm gonna go Fable. I have 2 different sources of treasure tokens. I still have 2 lands that I can loot through if I play a land drop. I think I am just going to play the land drop, keep the treasure around, and play Welder. Alright, there is Aphelia. File goes to 2. Aphelia is a little annoying versus my tokens here. Obviously, my opponent can blink this one out and get an easy attack in. I will take 2. Got a Surveil land. And passing the turn. So, Fable does its thing. That's very annoying. Because I was about to get Engineer plus Welder. And now I don't get that. I think I am going to do this and loot away 1 land. Immediately replaced by a new land. Thank you, deck. Very cool. I am now going to get Goblin Engineer going. And I have neither of my combo pieces. I could get Ensnaring Bridge going to try to stop my opponent from blinking all of my stuff out of existence here. Or I could pick up something like Phyrexian Dragon Engine, but that's not great into Bowmasters. So I think I'm going to gain access to Ensnaring Bridge. And I think just pass the turn. I could attack and trade for one of these 2 creatures with this token. But then my opponent could just attack and blink this out, and I don't have access to the cool things that this could do. So I think I'm just going to let them blink out my token. Stoneforge is not great for me. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, opponent bumped Vile up to 3 despite having Lion Sash. So that might mean that all of their mana goes towards using Lion Sash. Now it doesn't. So now we just have to hope for misplays. Delia goes on Stoneforge. I will absolutely attempt the trade. I succeed. Stoneforge does the thing. Now my opponent... never mind. They've got something else here. I probably should not get too excited. Alright. I get a new Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. I pick up a Ghost Vacuum. I believe I am just passing the turn here. I can't make an Ensnaring Bridge through my opponent's 2 mana. If they at some point tap too low on mana, I can get a Bridge out of Graveyard by activating this in response. My opponent, in response, my opponent eats, and then in response, I Reflection of Kiki Jiki, Goblin Engineer, and do the thing. All right, there's Cauldra. My opponent, unfortunately, has triple white available, so I'm just going to take this hit, and we might be able to get creative. Let's go Reflection on Reflection. Fuck. Yeah. You have a Flicker Wisp 2 to just make it more of a beating. 15. Evoke. That fails. Gonna attempt to Ghost Vacuum a Solitude. Opponent gives us that. I really need a 7th mana here. I don't know. Can I just get my opponent to mess up and not eat my Ensnaring Bridge? I can only do this as a sorcery. Well, maybe all the timelines in which I win involves me doing this. This gives me outs to assemble Painter Grindstone. Alright, there goes the bridge. My opponent can eat a couple other things as well here to just increase the amount of life that they gain. So my hope here is that I then start making copies of this Solitude next turn, which is why I wanted a 7th mana, so that I could make this and immediately copy it. The disaster case here is where my opponent can flicker this, although obviously this is just not great for me either. I imagine there's still a pre-war formal wear in the deck. Oh, it's a Phantom Blade instead. We'll see which thing my opponent wants to destroy. I imagine it's this. Yep. A lot of keywords on this. Also think the attack with that 2/2 orc is probably fun. Well, I absolutely don't think that it matters. I think at this point I am done here. It was handily dispatched. Furies are great. I can consider some number of Pithing Needle effects as well. I don't really need Soul Guide Lantern and Ghost Vacuum. Ghost Vacuum can become Pithing Needles safely. I think this can go. I cut some number of blast effects. They're fine if I assemble Painter, but they're not great otherwise. I could just board the Grindstone in, assuming that most of the time when I get Karn, I am tutoring for Ensnaring Bridge or Disruptor Flute. That's reasonable. Keep 4 of these. I could go 3 in Disruptor Flute. Reasonable. So I have Flute and Bridge to tutor for, and I think tutoring for Bridge is important enough that I need it. Yikes. Just yikes. If nothing goes wrong, this Goldfish is on turn 3. Going to keep this one and get rid of Fable. I think I am not going to go for the turn 3, though. I think I'm just going to go Mountain and pass here. I think there's just too many fail points. Swords, Solitude, Wasteland, Swords to Plowshares. Let's get this going. Let's Painter. And we have Force of Will back up. We have Force of Will at home. Alright, opponent is fetching. I could Pyroblast their land. That feels greedy, so I'm not going to do it. But I could do it. Yep. So if I went for the immediate Goldfish, we would have failed. Hopefully I draw a land. Thank you, deck. Very cool. Yeah. I do not believe that I'm going to use my Spirit Guide this turn. I think I'm just going to hold up Pyroblast. The access to the basic land, obviously, is unfortunate here. I am going to Blood Moon. It does, at this time, cut my opponent off one of their 2 colors. It does cut them off of white-white. I imagine they get the basic planes here. Yep. I am not attacking into potential flash blockers here. This is not a game that I am intending on winning via life total. Alright. Goodbye, Painter. That's fine. We've got another. Belly is annoying. It means my opponent can cast their spells. That overall was not great for me. It does make their life more awkward, which is fine. Maybe I can play a Painter and Pyroblast something afterwards. 19. This does not feel like a good matchup. Opponent can just get back Solitude. Rough. Belia protected as well. Belia Overlord is a thing. I think if I win, I am now winning via combo. I'm not outfaring my opponent here. I don't know how I beat the Solitude. Coming back repeatedly with Overlord. It has to be Painter plus Pyroblast. I'm just going to pack it in here. I know this is a bad matchup. Even without the... the Yorian Companion was just not revealed the first time. Just in error. It was there. But this deck has so many angles of interaction for everything that I have going on there. And Painter often outvalues other fair decks, but I don't outvalue this stuff. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. All right. I have a decently interactive hand. Opponent says hello to YouTube. Are you a second main phase hipster? You are. Oh. You don't get to say hello to YouTube and then kill me with oops all spells. I will apologize immediately if you just cast something cool like a Dalthy Voidwalker. Oh, this is fine. This is fine. Pyroblast could maybe technically do something. Probably not. I can double Lightning Bolt my opponent and put them to 11. Yes. Are you wheeling? Like Echo of Eons? If so, that's pretty cool. So these bodies can give like things you can sacrifice for Beseech the Mirror. I'm not going to interact with these yet because I potentially want to have Pyroblast available. I should consider double bolting my opponent face versus just like hitting both of these. Opponent could also just be playing like flash style opposition agent things. I'm gonna go ahead and take out Bowmasters. I think we're going fair here. I'm going to play a 1/2 blocker. Don't worry, we knew that was coming. Now I lightning bolt that opposition agent so that I can actually search for my stuff. And I think Ensnaring Bridge and Painter are both fine here. I think I'm going to go for Painter. Painter turns on this Pyroblast. I think my biggest current issue is that a Karn can be very scary. Ooh. You've got choices. We'll see what my opponent goes for. They've got one card left. They're going for Saga. Okay. Wish I had another red mana. I'm gonna be passing the turn here. Normally, I might like Grindstone myself in these situations to just give myself more Goblin Engineer options. Damn it. This is inconvenient. The combination of Karn and Dalthy Voidwalker here is really annoying. Otherwise, I don't care about this. Yes. Not having double red specifically is annoying because I can't Painter it and immediately take it out. That's no attack. We are going to turn Grindstone into Painter. Everything is blue. I am going to float a mana. Going to pick up my Grindstone. I think we have to do this over a couple of turns, unfortunately. I'm now going to Pyroblast, take out the Karn. This is still on the stack. It is not in the graveyard yet to be redirected via Dalthy Voidwalker. Okay, so opponent's not dead there, right? So my Pyroblast is about to get a Void counter on it. And then my opponent can sacrifice their Dalthy Voidwalker to use Pyroblast to interrupt my combo. So if I go for Grindstone targeting them, they can sacrifice Dalthy Voidwalker, Pyroblast my Painter, and then only mill a couple of cards. And then I have to use Goblin Engineer to bring Painter back. So they're not quite dead there yet. And I thought that's what they were angling for by leaving this up. In this case, if they Pyroblast my Painter, the Dalthy Voidwalker is gone. This goes to my graveyard, and I use my Spirit Guide to turn Grindstone back into Painter, and I still win this turn. But if my card there isn't Spirit Guide, that's not actually the case. So it looks like I want to be able to answer my opponent's creatures and planeswalkers, which means that Fury is a go. They showed us Beseech the Mirror, which potentially means there's only a singleton Karn in there, and Beseech is a way to find it. So when I see Beseech, I am thinking about Shouldered Karn, the One Ring, and Helm. I think I don't need the Graveyard Hate. I think I do want a couple of Pithing Needle effects. The Urza Saga Blood Moon thing is very good against my opponent's fair side of the deck. Are my own Karns actually good? I guess they shut off Helms. I guess that's fine. Oh, I have 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Could be thinking about the last Magus over another Pyroblast effect. I'm going to say that's a yes, although it's questionable on the draw. That is not enough mana and also too many Pyroblasts. Yes! This just attempts to win the game with Urza Saga Blood Moon and backs it up with Magus of the Moon so it doesn't go away. I think I get rid of Goblin Engineer here. What about Disruptor Flute for Karn, though? Engineer's better if I have to pick up an Ensnaring Bridge for a little while. If I ignore the existence of the card Thoughtseize, I can get rid of Magus of the Moon, though. I really need this to stabilize my mana, though. I don't know, maybe I just out-aggro and aggro start from my opponent a lot of times. So let's get rid of Engineer. It's worse against Opposition Agent if my opponent just slams one of those down immediately. And, like, my opponent is a known Leyline of the Void deck, so if I get rid of Engineer, that's one more thing that I just kind of incidentally play around. Oh, that is a Magic the Gathering card. I think I'm going to play Urza Saga on one, and I can decide whether or not I think I can just combo off on turn 3, or if I want to do the Blood Moon thing. There is a real choice to be made. My opponent is presumably about to cast an Opposition Agent. I could just name Opposition Agent here and keep them from doing that, but that's my only red mana, so I'm not going to do it. It's also awkward if they have both Bowmaster and Opposition Agent. Yes. Vault. I will take 3. Saga goes to 2. I think I'm into the Blood Moon, and I don't need to take damage from Ancient Tomb to do that. A little awkward that this is an artifact land, though. For specifically, if Karn comes down, then this does get shut off. But I guess that, well, no, it's not symmetrical. All right. Oh, hey, there is Thoughtseize. The opponent wanted to leave 2 mana available. So it must be like Bowmasters coming next. I have lost Painter. Painter goes to exile. And now I will presumably eat my opponent alive with Urza Saga construct tokens. No immediate 2 mana play off of that. That feels weird to me. I will absolutely just trade for a removal spell here. If my opponent has one. Cool. Ooh, this is not trending well for my opponent. They've got another one, that's fine. Am I just playing that as a mountain? Seems like it. Note here that you do still get a first lore counter if you play this out. Alright, now opponent is holding back, which means that I get to start doing this thing where I accumulate tokens. And now I am the beatdown. I think I hold for 1 turn and then start attacking. This gives me the flexibility to Disruptor Flute if something scary goes on the stack that I need to mess with. Alright, cool. So now we go bam. I could just Disruptor Flute to use my mana. I think I'll chill with it, though. Engineer is a 1-2 for 2 mana. Now we're the beatdown. Opponent is just taking it. I think this is a fine amount of damage. And I'll hold up Disruptor Flute. So I think this is one of the better... we've gotten the GGs from the opponent. One of the better use cases for Urza's Saga. When you are playing against... let's call it like an underpowered legacy deck that can't quickly close out games, the Urza Saga Blood Moon interaction is going to eat away at their resources. So if you're playing against something that can close the game quickly, Storm, Oops All Spells, Nadu, you don't get to grind a lot of value with this, and it might actually be a negative to try and set up Blood Moon plus Urza Saga versus just make a construct, tutor. But in a slower matchup like this one, like this is turn 7, and I very comfortably had time to take a turn off to do this, and then bury my opponent in 3 or 4 construct tokens. Is turn 1 Karn good? I don't have the 1 ring to tutor for, and I don't have Liquid Metal Coating. I don't think turn 1 Karn is good. Oof. I guess that means this is a mulligan. Unless my opponent would just concede to turn 1 Karn, but I don't think I'm going to take that degree of called shot. Just back of the napkin, ballpark math, how bad is this? Oh, if there's a Saga in the mana base, is probably not great. 16. 16 red sources. I am on the draw. I get 2 looks. The hand's actually not even that good, even if I hit, right? I guess I can hit any land to get Phyrexian Dragon Engine, and then turn 3 cards into 3 other cards, maybe turn 4 cards into 3 cards. No. This is the best hand so far. I'm going to get rid of the Karn here and get rid of the Pyroblast. I'm going to keep the Spirit Guide to increase the chances that I can do a Blood Moon off of Urza's Saga if mana gets a little weird. Energy? Energy. I think I am going to do Welder as removal bait and try to wait a minute for Urza's Saga. If I wait, I don't necessarily have to use City of Traders with it immediately. It helps stabilize my mana a little bit and potentially gives me time to find Blood Moon. I will absolutely just take one, that's fine. And then this is just like damage report time, like how bad is it? Probably double Ocelot Pride or Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride being the scariest thing that can happen. Voice of Victory, very good with Guide of Souls, obviously. Okay, I mean, I will do that. How many lands I draw is going to be a really, really big deal here, because I can get Ensnaring Bridge and play Ensnaring Bridge next turn. However, if I keep drawing lands, I can't get down to one card in hand, which is a key point to make it so that Voice of Victory can't attack. And if one creature is capable of attacking, then Guide of Souls can do crimes. So if Voice of Victory attacks, you can put the Guide of Souls trigger on bottom, the Voice of Victory trigger on top, have 1/1 red warrior tokens, and then give them additional power. So you make friends, friends give energy. That brings them up to 3, meaning that they can spend immediately. Is going on the Guide of Souls attacking Karn. The rest of this stuff is coming at me. I would rather have Welder than one more life here. So I'm at 16. And we'll see what else my opponent has. I don't actually have any artifacts to help protect this Ensnaring Bridge from Static Prison. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Anyway, all these plans that I just had about hiding behind Ensnaring Bridge forever, Ocelot Pride Guide of Souls has given that a massive middle finger. I am very close to just dead immediately. My opponent has 9 on board. They can kill my Welder and then send 1 at my face. Yeah. What a great draw. And I would have drawn more lands, too. So my bridge play probably would not have just beaten what was already on board. Alright, Fury in, obviously. I think I'm probably going to end up playing Magus of the Moon, as weird as that sounds. My opponent has a lot of utility lands. Like, they're going to probably have 4x Plateau, 4x of the red-white Horizon Canopy land. There's a decent chance that I could knock my opponent off of white. Not guaranteed, obviously, but, like, could happen. And I go down a couple of blasts. I probably want a Pithing Needle for Goblin Bombardment, and I might want to board in. Karn's just bad. Karn's very slow here. It is one more effective copy of an Ensnaring Bridge. I could just go bam, 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 and get both Disruptor Flutes in. I would be further going down on Pyroblast effects if I did that. Hopefully that's fine. I might be overly aggressively boarding down Pyroblasts. Turn 1, Phyrexian Dragon Engine, discard my hand, draw 3 cards. No thank you. Brr. This mana is not stable. I can play turn 1 Spirit Guide. Sorry, turn 1 Fable of the Mirrorbreaker and hope that that fixes everything. That might be what I'm going for. To consider keeping Painter to try to better enable Fury. But I'm just going to kind of hope that that works itself out. So my hope here is that I play this, I'm able to attack with this, I draw a red card, I Fury my opponent's either turn 1 or turn 1 and 2 play, and then play Phyrexian Dragon Engine to refuel, and I can start copying it from there. I guess this only does its thing when it enters from graveyard. Alright, I eat swords. That's quite bad. That means I'm looting through both of these to just look for things to do. That's honestly cruel. How much is this? 5? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Don't I only have 2 Pyroblast effects in my entire deck right now? Okay. It's cool. That is happening. And this may just be a time where I mulligan to 5 and it did not pan out. Yep. My opponent's going to send in with this Cat Warrior. I will absolutely just take the 2 here. This Reflection of Kiki Jiki is theoretically very valuable. I have some draws like Fury that could be nuts. Fortunately, I was kind of in a position where I had to just get rid of Fury. Well, it's awkward that if I play Magus of the Moon, I'm further away from Phyrexian Dragon Engine. I think I just accept that. I might be double blocking with Magus, depending on what my opponent does. You can even make an argument that I'm supposed to make the copy in my end step so it can't be disrupted with the swords. But I think if the swords hits Magus rather than Reflection, that's a net positive for me. Yes. Another Voice of Victory. Very much not casting spells on my opponent's turn. I think I was correct in my assessment of Karn being too slow. Oh. I don't want to give my opponent the Planeswalker, though. Like, I can block for free, air quotes, but that does not actually put me in a better position. Awkward. This is free to do. It is not likely relevant, but it's free to do. So now I end up lightning bolting Ajani. Yeah, I think I end up lightning bolting this. I have to do it now because of double Voice of Victory, unfortunately. So let's just take that out. How about you? Didn't work. They're too smart. No. All right. I don't think I die, literally die immediately. But we are now going to enter into sketchy called shot territory. I believe that by the end of this turn, I am going to be far enough behind that I need to just Pyroblast. Oh, fuck, I can't do it on their turn. I believe it was correct on my turn. Well, actually, maybe that's not true, because I still had the Reflection of Kiki Jiki until my end step. But it might theoretically have been correct to double Pyroblast on my main phase, or on my end step, so that if I draw Ensnaring Bridge, I can play Ensnaring Bridge and I'll be Hellbent. Whereas right now, if I draw Ensnaring Bridge, I can Pyroblast something and have 1 card in hand, so the Voice of Victories can still attack. Let's say if I draw Ensnaring Bridge and I'm punished for picking up on that line just a little bit too late. Alternatively, I draw Painter and I Pyroblast 2 things, and, like, that is actually very good. Magic's cool. Seems good. We'll see what my opponent names. They could just Called Shot, name the One Ring. Fury is very reasonable. Fury takes out a Voice of Victory and an Amp Trapper. Actually, is Fury actually reasonable? Because if that just costs 3 more, I just still cast it. I go to 6. I take out 2 of these. I take 3, 4, 5. I'm still alive. So I now unearth this. I'm not crazy, right? Unearthed creatures are sacrificed at end of turn? Yeah, they are. Okay. I'm just surprised that there's not reminder text of that on here. So then I exile this, and I take lethal damage here, unfortunately. I have Painter Grindstone, and my opponent paid for the Static Prison. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That'll do. That'll do nicely. GG's. Alright. This hand doesn't really do anything. Well, this hand has a plan. The plan is Blood Moon. I think I'm going to keep 2 Blood Moons. I think it is more likely that Blood Moon gets interacted with, and I want a second one, than that I would want a second Painter immediately. Delta and pass. There is some humor in this, obviously. We're gonna Painter. Everything is blue. I don't really care if I get Fatal Pushed or whatever. Like, I am fully not expecting to win this game until, like, turn 10, if I win. Thundering Falls. I most frequently see that out of Show and Tell. So we'll lose to a Show and Tell in the short term. And my opponent is very likely to fetch for a basic land. And so Blood Moon isn't going to keep my opponent off of Show and Tell. That's rough. I could potentially make future cantrips worse by making my opponent not be able to combine them with fetch lands. Ooh, not Show and Tell. Yeah, that's fine. Don't care about that. These are 2 non-basic lands, and I have 3 Blood Moons. I get 3 chances to obliterate my opponent's mana base. Attempt number 1 fails. So now my opponent has a heads up that I am playing moons. Baseline is fine. Do not care about that. All we know here is Soul Land and Blood Moon. Attempt number 2, 5 cards remaining in opponent's hand. Success. Now, my opponent is a Grixis deck. This means that at least some number of their cards are still castable, so we could see something like, perfect timing, like Corey Steelcutter or Dragon's Rage Channeler, for example, come down. I am not in a hurry here. We're going to do a safety Blood Moon. It is theoretically possible that my next card is Grindstone, and I could go Grindstone, activate Goblin Welder immediately, but my opponent might have like Lightning Bolt effects as well. So I'm going to Weld, and we have made our opponent not play Magic in the short to medium term, which is great. I'm going to hold this land in case I want to cycle it. I don't control any artifacts, so Welder can just get in there. We're not expecting a mono red flash creature. Mountain. I also have Mountain, though. I think I'm going to hold 2 lands in hand for Fable of the Mirrorbreaker purposes. 5th Mountain. I mean, I look smart. Make your own luck. Figure out what you can draw and play towards making those draws better. Oh, that just fully resolved. So notably, this means that I can get a treasure token. Once I have a treasure token, I can bring Painter back into play. We will absolutely junk 2 basic lands here. Be rewarded with more mana. I think I can just attack with Welder, though. I think it's pretty clear that my opponent doesn't have anything relevant right now. And Painter doesn't do me any good until I have Grindstone. And at the point where I find Grindstone, I have plenty of mana. 6th Mountain. Alright, at the point where I have this many. Send in for 3. Bring my opponent to 10. So my prediction was that if I won this game, it would be around turn 10. Accurate. Thank you, Blood Moon, for hard carrying that one, though. Alright, let's assume that we are playing against some sort of Grixis tempo deck. I think I am getting rid of Karn. Bringing in Furies, bringing in Ensnaring Bridge. Magus of the Moon was pretty hot there. Or, sorry, Blood Moon. Magus is okay. I can consider these and these as well. This is too many cards by a lot, though. Like, my Bolts and Blasts and Graveyard Hate are all reasonable. Yeah, I don't need Soul Guide Lantern. Maybe with this many Blasts, I don't need Pithy Needle for Tameo. Am I actually trying to win via Magus of the Moon? Or am I trying to win by controlling my opponent? It's like, obviously I got the free Blood Moon win here, but if my opponent is on the play and puts some creatures on board, then like playing the Blood Moon effects into that becomes significantly less good. 3 Fury, too many Fury. I could also maybe cut Phyrexian Dragon Engine into a Bowmaster deck. This is fine. I don't know that this is perfect, but this is good enough. As long as Fable resolves, this hand is fine. I think I'm willing to roll the dice on that. Because the hand is also fine if I just draw something like a Mountain as a follow-up. Alright, there are basics in the deck. My opponent just did not fetch them out. From my side of the table, like, this is the best thing that my hand does. I would be interacting with this in some capacity. An opponent goes for the Fable. That's mighty cool. Kinda don't want my opponent to know that I just drew that. But I'm not likely to get 5 mana to go Painter, Grindstone, activate in one turn. So, let's do this, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Alright, everything is blue. And I think I'm going to do this now so I can't lose the Spirit Guide to a Thoughtseize. And then any land kills my opponent. Now again, they can just have Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, whatever that interacts with us. Yet. Fair. I believe that this is worth... Is that true? Is it worth the 2 life if I have Fable that can just loot them away? It was potentially worth 2 life for Urza Saga construct token reasons. I think with Fable there, that equation changes. 16. We do just have Pyroblast effects that I can draw to answer that Null Rod, so it's not like that's there forever. Oh, geez, Wasteland's rough. Uh-oh. 15 turn clock. It's not fine. Opponent does not have more lands. At this point, Bowmaster can ping this, and I lose my Painter. I don't think I attack into that mana. Alright, played around it. Alright, so we are playing Drago, but I think that is largely favorable to my opponent right now, because I don't have any mana, and they can spend mana at my end step. Another one? Petty Theft. That forces a discard. I'm going to put a Grindstone into Graveyard so that I can weld it in later. Sewers? Oh, there's Meltdown too. You got it. I'm taking 2. Alright. Going to discard the third welder. Keep some variety in hand. I am eating a lightning bolt worth of damage now. Oh no, I'm eating a Kaito. F. Yeah. I think at this point I don't win anymore. I just don't have time to outfare this stuff. I don't have a Pyroblast in hand to just be able to immediately hit something that deals with Kaito. All in all, not good. Yeah, you can thought these. I am not casting these cards. Okay. So I'm taking 6 this turn. Yeah, at this point, even if I answer the Kaito, I'm just going to die to the remaining creatures. So I'm sitting here thinking about this last Fury, because it sometimes can be a way to eliminate a board of creatures or kill a Kaito. It's fine to hardcast if we get into the late game. If I am fine with not being able to eat away at my opponent's graveyard for things like Goyf, I can get rid of the Ghost Vacuum. It means that my Saga package isn't too robust. I could play the Pithing Needle as well. This is fine. I would like to draw another land, though. Let's just deploy a Welder and call that good. We've got Delta and pass. Nope. Second main phase Hipster. Cameo, that's fine. So, here's going to attempt to take out a Tameo here. Send in the Mighty Goblin Welder. 18. There's the Thundering Falls. And opponent keeps their card. I have missed on land. That is devastating. Going to attempt a Painter. I can still potentially just Goldfish next turn. Can't protect this right now, so that means Goblin Welder is attacking. Sure. Wander's fine. I need to draw a land to be able to Goldfish next turn. But opponent did not shuffle with Ponder, so that means that they have something that disrupts me. This is bad. Yep, and I don't have mana. I'm just bottlenecked. There's a Grindstone. This probably just means that I'm getting a Lotus Petal here. Let's play Goblin Engineer, and I think I'm putting an Ensnaring Bridge into my graveyard. I already have Painter plus Grindstone, so this is like the big piece of functionality I'm missing. But I can think about Great Furnace here since I have another Goblin Engineer. I think I'm going to do that. And I can turn Lotus Petal into Great Furnace. It is very inefficient, but it might just be what I need. Yes. Okay. Blood Moon is not great. I think I'm just going to cast a Grindstone. I have an emergency Red Elemental Blast or Pyroblast, but I really prefer not to use Lotus Petal. Yes. I imagine I lose Goblin Engineer here. I think it is very easily my best card. Yes. And, hopefully I just draw lands and find something cool to do. Maybe my Red Elemental Blasts and Pyroblasts keep Murktide Regent, Kaito, Tameo from coming down and doing relevant things. Fuck. Yeah. I'm gonna get soloed by this. My red removal doesn't answer it. I don't have the mana to cast an Ensnaring Bridge. Even if I did, I don't have anything to back it up here. Yeah. That's 6. My opponent gets a Baleful Strix, which fully for the sake of using. Oh. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna hold up both Pyroblasts here. Playing the Grindstone is not super relevant. I think I need land and Ensnaring Bridge. And even if I did, something like Brazen Borrower beats me and my opponent can dig towards it very aggressively here. When it gets Tameo or Strix. Oh no, going Bowmasters. Sure. Yep. This is now a 7. Nope, just deck did not cooperate in terms of mana there. GG's. Very quickly realizing that my deck does not function when I cannot cast my spells, and that is obvious. I wonder what my land count is versus normal Painter now that these Spirit Guides are in here. I'm definitely feeling the temporary mana. Yeah, I wonder if this deck does not have enough lands in it. Because I keep getting hands that look like this that can't super safely, consistently cast my spells. And I can gamble on turn 2 Fable / hitting my land drop, or I can mulligan this one. I just keep losing with hands that look like this, where I just get wastelanded and then otherwise am not able to cast my spells. Like, this is a disappearing land, so I can't just, like, stably go Fable into Fable. Say no. The universe has a cruel sense of humor. I don't think this is good enough. Sure. This is the good portion of the hand, and the Karns are just probably fully outside of the range of castable. We've got basic swamp, and now my hand falls apart. I think I lose the Fable that was going to be my card selection and looting. Oh, that is the absolute last card that I would have expected to lose from that hand. So I can do Painter with Pyroblast backup. I think that is just worse than throwing down Fable and having some flexibility. If we are playing against something fair, this is the ability to like loot through some cards and fix this. And if we're playing against something unfair, I can try to assemble my combo or whatever, or find the red mana I need to cast the Pyroblast. Anyway, if you recall when I talked about how I lose games where I can't cast my spells, this is exactly what I mean. Sure, I have a Pyroblast available. I will Pyroblast any cantrip hyper aggressively. But if my opponent just plays a Animate Dead here, they've got it. I don't think I get to play Painter Servant here. I have to hold up Pyroblast, just any Brainstorm effect. I just need to blast. Mountain Cycling. We have a Grixis build, or Volcanic Island, which my opponent plays out, and they're just passing the turn. I mean, better lucky than good. Very awkward if their last card is Daze and I Pyroblast that, so I'm not going to Pyroblast that. We get 2 cards instead. Ooh, that's nice. So I will take out the Atraxa immediately, and I think I'm going to leave this here, despite the fact that it enables Murktide Regent. I think I just want to dangle this here for the remainder of the game. Having the artifact in play can be relevant. I don't think you need to do that immediately for any reason. For things like Welder. Opponent keeps their card. I don't think I am playing City of Traders. I think I'm just going to throw down Painter. Everything's blue. And then next turn we're going to top deck Grindstone and kill our opponent. And everything will be fine and good and happy. 1 in 25 chance. You have Metamorphosis Fanatic? You do. So now I need to, unfortunately, blow my Soul Guide Lantern so that my opponent does not get Oliphant. Grindstone. Negative. I will play that land, give my opponent a chance to wasteland it. I will just die to Metamorphosis Fanatic. Like, a 4/4 lifelinking body is very good when I am presenting no opposition to it. 14. Opponent has 5th land drop. I mean, yeah. So is it Ensnaring Bridge, or is it just Grindstone? I don't actually have an artifact to sub out right now. So it could just be that I turn Painter into Ensnaring Bridge and buy time. That feels fine. Send in for 1. I will take 4. I'm at 10. The attack is fine, because if my opponent has Bowmasters, I just weld this out for Bridge anyway. Send it. 20. Am I fine with Fable? If so, am I playing the land? It feels like individual points of life matter in this game more than individual cards. So let's play this, pass the turn. And you got Entomb. Or Archon. At this point, I am just going to go ahead and do this before some weird stifle effect bites me in the butt. Rainstorm's fine. Opponent doesn't get to attack. Archon of Cruelty is fine. Get rid of my Shaman token. Oh, yeah, that's good. Obviously. We're gonna say nope. So, what we're gonna do here is cast a Grindstone. You're going to activate a Grindstone. I do have to use Ancient Tomb here. Targeting you. Hold priority. Target Painter. Do 1. Sacrifice the Grindstone. Everything is blue. And now my opponent mills out. Unless they can remove my Painter here, which they cannot. So we win that one at 5. Awkward game. We came up with the W there. Honestly, we were very lucky. I spiked that Soul Guide Lantern to take the initial Atraxa out of Graveyard. We mitigated the damage of Metamorphosis Fanatic. I potentially win this one going for either Bridge or Grindstone with the initial Goblin Engineer. So now there's a question of speed. Like, how is Karn? I think I am boarding in the Crypt. I think I am boarding in the Ley Lines. At that point, it may just be that this is not strong enough. Phyrexian Dragon Engine is probably expendable. Lightning Bolts are maybe expendable if I just keep most of the blasts. The blasts can answer the Tameo type stuff. The Goyf pivots are a little rough. Maybe go down on moon effects and play 1 or 2 Furies. I don't think I am trying to assemble Infinite Urza Saga here. I think I'm just trying not to fucking die. I think I need at least a couple of those to not die. This is a beautiful hand, but not for this matchup. This is something I'd be very, very happy to keep in a game 1. But I don't think turn 3 Graveyard Hate is fast enough here, especially when I have boarded in a bunch of Grave Hate. This is another one of these hands where the mana doesn't work super well. Like, I can keep something that keeps my opponent from reanimating, but like, as soon as this is interacted with, my entire hand falls apart. Alright. I mean, I'm going to keep it. Get rid of the Fury. I don't know that I can afford another pitch card. Fable is already kind of a pitch card. Expending my Lotus Petal. Unless I draw a red source immediately. Opponent's on 5 cards. And Thought seizes me. I'm probably losing Crypt or Petal here. Negative. I have lost Fable. Well, this is not dazable. It just resolves. I'm going to play Lotus Petal. I don't think I'm going to play Pyroblast. Or sorry, I don't think I'm going to play City of Traders, though. I think I want to be able to draw Mountain and not lose City. Double basic, naturally. Or, no, sorry. Yeah. Cool. Alright. I am in a 0 agency game now. And we'll just see how long it takes for my opponent to kill me. I am going to put this in play because of Urza Saga construct token size. I don't know, if I draw Urza Saga, I can cast it without doing the 2 life. So maybe that's wrong. Alright, we are playing Draw Go. I did hit a mountain. So I have Pyroblast available now. And since I have 3 of them, I will Pyroblast just about anything blue that hits the stack. We continue to play Drago. Hey, I have Painter's Servant plus Grindstone. But like, actually though, I'm going to go ahead and throw Yield Painter in play. And I am prepared to fight over this. So we're going to go blue, obviously. And I'm going to pass the turn. And now my opponent is in this very weird spot where if they interact with me and tap this swamp, they probably die. Yeah, that is not going to go well for you there. Unless you have Force of Will. So I'm going to attempt to destroy Null Rod. And then if this resolves, I have Grindstone activate. Does not. Unfortunate. Ancient Tomb doesn't produce mana, so that is happening. That's a shame. Opponent had to have something though, right? Yes. Illusion of Choice. And pass. Leyline of the Void, not castable here. Maybe I can loot that away. Or draw Go. I'm not gonna play that. Won't benefit from doing it. Bloodstained Mire. So this is the scary point where Goyfs can come down, and Goyf is not interactable via Pyroblast. Same overall effect, yeah. Not interactable via Pyroblast. I still have some things like Fury that I can cast that eliminate that, though. Rough. I don't think I need 2 available at the same time. I think saving the life via City of Traders is potentially more relevant. I'm at 15. Yep, that doesn't get interacted with via Pyroblasts. Ensnaring Bridge. Urza's Saga. I suppose at this point I am playing lands to get them out of my hand. But I'm just taking 9 here. Metamorphosis Fanatic, also not interactable via my cards. So I am going to take 9. Go to 6. My opponent does not hit. Alright, if I play land and draw Ensnaring Bridge, I have 3 cards remaining in my deck. Sorry, in my hand. And I take a hit from Douthie Voidwalker. I believe that means that I now just need to use one of these to take a card out of my hand. It's awkward if I draw Painter as the draw. So I block this and take 7. That is super disappointing. We get another game. My mono red deck is just bad at answering the red creatures. They're too big. Lightning Bolt doesn't do it for Metamorphosis Fanatic and Goyf. And Fury often does not kill Goyf either. And the more creatures I play, the more my opponent can reanimate my own stuff. This does not feel like a good matchup. I am still, I think, going to submit this as is. I am on the fence about the third Fury. I'm going to believe in the deck to draw something reasonable and keep a Leyline hand. I am finding that I am incredibly hurting for mana in games. I'm going to keep the mana heavy hand, but I am unhappy about how this deck feels. I'm not sure to what degree this is the deck being misbuilt versus like this is just Painter not being great in the metagame. Turn 1 Grindstone. Wow, Snap Force of Willed. That card didn't even do anything. I'm going to consider that a win. Bloodstained Mire and pass the turn. My opponent just forced. I can do this around days. I'm in. Just attempt to create multiple problematic permanents early on. Surveil. That is a bridge in play, but my opponent kept a card on top. Wasteland's fine. I've got extra mana. Sure. I'm gonna... They did not have days last turn. I am willing to do this, I think. Could be Hydroblasted. Alright, I'm in play. So I can draw a card, go up to 2 cards in hand, and then attack with this and get my treasure token. We'll see if my opponent does something that interacts with me, though. This is a perfect time to just, like, use a Shoulder's Edict or whatever. Douthie Voidwalker. Sure. That makes Engineer significantly worse. I think I'm just going to loot through both of these. Soul Guide Lantern is whatever. City of Traders is whatever. I will make my treasure. And I think I'm just going to go Hellbent. I can maybe hold City. And Ancient Tomb to exile. Yeah, I can maybe hold City. But now my opponent can't just bounce Leyline out of play. And then immediately do Reanimator Crimes. And I can turn this into a card later in the game if I need to. Mountain Cycling. Can't attack. I don't think I'm going to go for the immediate card here. Saga. Would I be fine trading this for part of a Bowmaster? Sure. No, just straight up petty theft. It's on the token though and not on one of these, so that is fine for me. And I will get Saga going, which potentially works towards some cool Grindstone thing. I guess there is some worry that my opponent finds a Meltdown and takes out like Bridge, a bunch of Construct tokens, and Soul Guide Lantern all at the same time. Alright, opponent's just passing. Welder? Welder's cool. I think I am going to go ahead and play Welder here. And at some point I'll lose City of Traders and be fine with that. Now I have some interesting Reflection of Kiki Jiki target Goblin Welder nonsense that I can do. Like I can turn a treasure token into a Grindstone, for example. Or I could sack Soul Guide Lantern and then start trying to take draws with Goblin Welders. Non-token creature. So that's probably Goblin Welder, but I can make a copy of it first. Is that true? Maybe Goblin Welder is just so good for protecting my Ensnaring Bridge that I keep it around, even though it's Bowmasterable and this isn't. Yeah, I think I talked myself into that. I don't know, there's like the Douthie Voidwalker, which is a problem. I am presumably going to answer that at some point. And then, like, I do all the things that I have been talking about. So, am I interested in treasure token for Grindstone? That's like my one. It's fine. Just put this in play, threaten a combo finish in addition to everything else that's going on. The only thing that's awkward about it is that if I draw Fury on a future turn, it won't have 5 mana anymore. Hopefully that's just fine. Well, there is my bonus mana. These cards don't do a ton, objectively speaking. I think I'm going to turn this into a draw now that I have Ghost Vacuum as well. Pyroblast is fine. Do I need Pyroblast up around a daze? Probably not. Probably not. And this is the other benefit to potentially keeping Goblin Welder. It attacks through my bridge easier than the 2/2 Fable token does. So if I can get Douthie Voidwalker out of play, another thing that I can do is just weld my bridge out of play and then just attack for lethal with constructs. We're not quite there though. There's counters on it, by the way. Handful of interesting things. Molten Collapse on the Grindstone. Sure. The Grindstone can have a void counter on it. That is a 0/1. Humorously. Opponent has 0 cards. Goblin Engineer, not great, into Douthie Voidwalker, obviously. Send it. Opponent goes to 12. I'm going to play this out. We'll use the ability. I just don't want to draw a Lotus Petal anymore, I don't think. I'll take that out of my deck and leave the rest of these in hand. That is another land drop for my opponent. I think my opponent should have just held that for brainstorm purposes. So there's a Painter's Servant, but there's a Grindstone under here. It's not actually super safe to play this out until Douthie Voidwalker is gone. I'm just going to go ahead and send in with my 1/2 creatures and play out Mountain and pass. I think to take the card out of my hand, I'm going to go ahead and trade with that, even though that card is not particularly scary. But I don't want to end up in this awkward position where I have like multiple Painter Servants in hand that I can't really cast them. I don't think I want to play the game of like I put the Painter in play with Pyroblast backup and like potentially my opponent draws a piece of interaction that makes that crumble. So there's my answer to Douthie, or potentially Metamorphosis Fanatic. It answers Douthie and Goyf at the same time. I'm just gonna chill here though. Yes. I have lost the Fury. Both of us are probably in danger of timing out at the rate this game is going. Alright. I will play out a Saga. Again, I can't do my attacks for 1 into the lifelinker anymore. Sure, you can take my Painter. You are at 6. That is not castable, which is not a short-term problem. But there are technically 3 Leyline of the Voids in the deck still, right? So it is possible for me to draw all 3 of those and those to get stuck in my hand, allowing Douthie Voidwalker to attack. That's very unlikely to happen. And I could potentially Fable loot away. Yeah. This extra construct token doesn't do much. I'm going to ignore it accordingly. Do I have Pithing Needle? Pithing Needle for Douthie Voidwalker here would be cool, but I don't think I have it. I'm going to take the Grindstone. And, like, manually grinding my opponent out is not where I would like to be in the world, but we might get there. Because I am on track to be the person that mills out first. That is yet another land drop from my opponent that they're using. They still have fetchables. Null Rod good, obviously. I don't need this stuff. 1 and 2. We will make construct tokens until morale improves. Or more realistically, until I draw a Fury, take out Metamorphosis Fanatic, and then I can start attacking with little dudes again. I still think it is very, very possible for me to lose this game. So for example, my opponent could get double Douthie Voidwalker and assemble Painter plus Grindstone from my exile. Pyroblast. I will make my land drop and pass the turn. I will make a friend. I will make a friend. I will pull some artifact out of my deck and pass the turn. I can start making additional copies of Goblin Engineer to in my deck with Reflection of Kiki Jiki. Wasteland's fine. Yeah, I fully think that I am timing out my opponent here rather than anything else. Don't need to draw a Great Furnace, Mountain, and pass. I don't have lethal yet, do I? Opponent is at 9. This gets blocked. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I don't have lethal. You may entomb. I'm not even going to look at what they got. It's just deck thinning. Same as what I'm doing here. I don't really want to draw painters. They're awkward with Douthie. Oops, all fables. Sure. What do I care about? Like a brazen borrower? And I think for the sake of preserving my clock, I'm going to stop doing the reflection of Kiki-Jiki thing. All right, there is a painter. I'm just going to loot away my painter. I will cast a Simian Spirit Guide and pass. I'm getting to the point where I just have lethal through Metamorphosis Fanatic, but I'm not going to do it until I have like a bit over lethal, because it's just like very, very bad if it goes wrong. Mod's Crypt. I'm just going to hold that. And now what I'm going to do is just like Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, copy Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, and swing for over lethal by a lot. All right, opponent is now going for Douthie and is doing Fury, presumably to answer these. But now my graveyard is going to be on, and I assume that I can do crimes with that. I'm going to Reflection of Kiki-Jiki and copy one of these. Then these can die. But now my graveyard is live again. So let's copy a Goblin Engineer. Say yes. I'm gonna get another bridge. Now I have bridge for bridge. I don't need to get carried away with painter stuff. I have multiple Pyroblasts. The Goyf starts growing. The Goyf can attack, but that doesn't matter. Do I just have lethal? Not probably through 2 lifelinkers. I can blow a Pyroblast on a random card if I don't want this to attack. If I don't want my opponent to have that 2 life. Sure. That's now a 3/4 and can't attack, so I don't need to blow a Pyroblast immediately, which is cool. I'll make my land drop and pass. Opponent is at less than 1 minute of clock remaining. Yeah, we are doing a boring natural timeout. Yes. I will cast a Spirit Guide. Opponent needs a Meltdown caliber card here. You need to clear so much stuff. The 3rd Pyroblast, that's awkward. Probably have to end up throwing one of those away. Beginning of combat. I'm just going to do this, and we're chilling. I'll do that again on the next turn. Oh, these can't attack right now anyway. Petty Theft. Thanks for trying. Boop. Not that it really gets them anywhere. A Force of Negation. Thanks for trying. Boop. I think at this point I let the stack clear. They just time out. Well, after a 54-minute and 15-second game, we put our 2nd win on the board for this league. I didn't look at the turn counter there at the end, but it is probably embarrassingly high. All right, so let's move on to our conclusion here. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I did not like this deck, and I would like to do a quick look at some painter deck lists. Like, how greedy did this deck get on lands? It has 21 lands. What's normal? Okay, I see. Excuse me. 20. That's blue painter. That was 17. That's 22. That's 21. That's 21. That's 21. So it appears that the list is not being greedy on land, and it would be running 4 sagas anyway. So maybe that's just variance on my end, but I just felt like I was not casting my spells. And normally the deck has some like other top end. Like, it's very common for Furies to be in the deck in game 1, and for you to have an end game of like copy Fury with Fable. It felt like I was fighting an uphill battle this league. I didn't run into as much of the Blood Moon Urza Saga awkwardness as I did in my Moonstompy video. So I very much think this is a deck that might accidentally assemble Urza Saga Blood Moon sometimes, and it is very, very good in those slower, fair matchups. You can probably run both without tripping over yourself too much. But I did not feel like this deck was actually very good at winning games. So if Blue-Black Reanimator is the top of the format, and my red removal spells aren't answering their fair creatures, that's problematic. Like, how long did that Douthie Voidwalker sit on board without an appropriate answer for it? Like, I could have, like, risked it and, like, tried to use the Pyroblast to disrupt the Doughty Voidwalker, but again, if my opponent waits for it and then finds interaction, it's not great for me. And we did eventually win that game. We won it via timeout, but I think we would win it more naturally anyway from there. Like on that last turn, I don't even technically need to counter the petty theft. I could have just used my activated ability to weld a different bridge into play, and that would have been fine as well. But it was taking cards out of my hand, which was actively good, so it was fine to do. It kind of just felt like I didn't do my thing very much. Like, I didn't actually paint or grindstone all that many times. I never, like, welded a Phyrexian Dragon Engine in and out of play. Karn as a turn 1 play was possible, but didn't actually do anything because the Karn board wasn't built so that Karn can solo games. This exact version of the deck isn't for me. More generally, I am not sure how well positioned this deck is going to be. You're not as fast as Oops. I don't think the fair black creatures are very answerable by this deck. And I certainly don't want to end up in those long 20 plus turn games, especially in paper play. So I think I am going to give this one a thumbs down. And that is 2 videos in a row trying the Blood Moon Urza Saga thing where it just like has not felt game breaking at all. Again, in very slow matchups, especially against like off meta decks or like very fair decks. Like the Urza Saga Blood Moon thing is going to feel absolutely busted. But it's not super consistent. The timing of it is awkward. And I think I would dedicate my resources elsewhere if I was like grinding for some very serious event. All right, with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. If you have any thoughts about the deck, throw it down in the comments below. Have a great rest of the day. See you.